I think my live video is starting. This is a little essay that I wrote a number of years back for private circulation, and I've made, I believe, the proper amendments to it for more public consumption. So here it is. It's on one of my favorite historical uh, characters, Saladin. And the title of it is Saladin, Most Mysterious Master. I do not recall ever hearing the name Saladin until I was introduced to him at the very beginning of my OTO initiatory journey. At the banquet following the ceremony, my initiator, Hymenaeus Alpha, still magnificently arrayed, was kind enough to give me a thumbnail sketch of this remarkable character. And he encouraged me to pursue further research. Your labor will be well repaid, he counseled. In the years since that memorable evening, I've been privileged to officiate at many such ceremonies. And I never forget to deliver a short Saladin lecture at the banqueting table. On November 18th, 1095, Pope Urban II, or it might be Pope Urban II, attended an historic conclave of bishops at Clermont-Ferrand Cathedral. Afterwards, he spoke at a large outdoor assembly and related how Christians in the Holy Land were suffering and dying at the hands of Turks and other Muslim infidels. He chastised the great Christian knights of Europe who waged perpetual bloody war against each other and offered them a way to redeem their souls and escape eternal punishment in hell. He encouraged them, and indeed all who heard his voice, to renounce killing each other and travel to the Holy Land and wage a righteous war against the godless Saracens. Anyone who lost his life in this expedition, either in battle or misadventure en route, would be forgiven all his sins and assured his place in heaven. The reaction was astonishing. Not only did professional men-at-arms respond to this war of penance, but tradesmen, farmers, and laborers by the thousands sewed the red cross to their clothing and set out to reclaim Jerusalem for Christendom. For the next 200 years, the political, religious, and military institutions of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East were enmeshed in a collective nightmare. Incredibly, many of the great political, religious, and military struggles of the late 20th century and now 21st century remain as the sad inheritance of that bloody madness known as the Crusades. Throughout all of recorded history, one cannot encounter so great an enterprise inspired by less worthy motives, executed with more cruel incompetence, or led by individuals of more despicable character. Why then does Ordo Templi Orientis, a modern magical fraternity, militantly pledged to the ideals of personal liberty and dedicated to the brotherhood of man, adopt as our ancestral tradition the military order of the crusading knights known as the Knights Templar? That question, dear brothers and sisters, will be answered more clearly as you progress through the degrees of our holy order. For the moment, the answer must begin with your introduction to the radiant figure throned within a conical tent. Ironically, our subject was not the leader of the crusading Knights Templar, but apparently their most deadly enemy, Saladin, the master general and warrior king of the entire Islamic world. It's not possible, neither am I qualified to present to you a comprehensive biography of this great man. Fortunately, the last 20 years have seen a resurgence of interest in Islamic history, and it's very easy to locate several very excellent biographies at your local bookstore and library. As my initiator told me, your labor will be well repaid. What follows is the briefest sketches. El-Malik al-Nasur Salah ad-Din Musafir Yusuf bin Ayyub, known in the West as Saladin, 1137 to 1193. He was a Kurdish Muslim, nephew of Shirkuh, the trusted lieutenant of the great Nuruddin. In 1148, Nuruddin had succeeded in recapturing and holding the key city of Damascus, an event that would trigger the chain of events that would result after his death in the unification of the major Muslim forces that would eventually drive the Crusaders from the Holy Land. The social and religious complexities of Middle East politics were as tortuously convoluted in medieval times as they are today. I'll not even attempt in this place to relate the braided litany of events that would eventually make Saladin master of Egypt. Suffice to say that in 1164, Nuruddin, in an attempt to overcome the collapsing Fatimid Caliphate in Egypt and establish military stability in the region, sent his trusted lieutenant, Shirkuh, to Cairo, accompanied by his young nephew, Saladin. By 1168, Shirkuh was successful beyond anyone's expectations and became Governor General of Egypt and made Saladin his deputy. Shirkuh died a year later, leaving 31-year-old Saladin the master of the wealthiest nation in Islam. In the following year, Saladin would unite the Islamic forces as no one has ever done before or has done since. He proclaimed jihad against the Latin kingdom, recapturing town after town. On July 4th, 1187, he triumphed in the deciding battle of the era. Nearly 20,000 crusaders, including over 1,200 heavily armed mounted knights, were slain by an equal number of Saladin's troops at the Horns of Hattin, near modern Zipori. By the beginning of autumn, he recaptured Tiberias, Acre, and nearly all Crusaders' strongholds south of Tripoli. Finally, on October 2nd, just 3 months after the victory at the Horns of Hattin, the city of Jerusalem capitulated to Saladin without a fight. Soon thereafter, with the exception of a handful of cities by the sea, the entire region was once again free of foreign infidel occupation. There are endless tales of Saladin's deeds and adventures, so many that his character has taken on the mythic proportions of fable. What is not fable, however, is the respect Saladin commanded from both his friends and his enemies. He was loved and esteemed by King Richard the Lionhearted, and it was the consensus among the more chivalrous leaders of the Crusades that, quote, if Saladin were only a Christian, he would be the greatest prince on earth, unquote. It's said that each morning after prayer, mighty Saladin stepped out of his tent to greet his soldiers. Standing guard at the entrance of the tent was his noble emir, who announced the presence of the king by shouting so that every ear could hear. All fall down before the light of the world. Dear brothers and sisters, I cannot imagine a more appropriate mythical initiator for our beloved order than the brave and virtuous warrior king Saladin. As you will soon discover, our wondrous magic springs from the wisdom and secret teachings of the mysterious East, which by tradition was brought back to Europe by the returning knights. Each of you, like an ancient Templar, has traveled from west to east in search of light and truth. It is our sincere wish that before your journey is over, you will know yourself to be, like mighty Saladin, the light of the world. So that's our Friday talk for today. I start your weekend early. Hope you have a great weekend. But if all goes well, I'll see you in the morning for another little reading of some kind. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.